Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. And let me just check my audio because we did have an issue with this before. Hopefully, this is fixed this time. Um, Folks, I've got a busy month this month. So it's, as you noticed, I got my live streams are all over the map. My videos are all over the map. But I had to re record this one because, again, the audio in that first recording wasn't very good. This was the second of the two videos I'd done with the bad audio. Uh, I wanted to talk about the topic, why are they here? What are we witnessing? I think we all have our suspicions and concerns. Fox News recently reported that there were over 20,000 Chinese immigrants last year, up from only 2,000 not 2 years before. Now, some people contest those numbers. The bottom line is there's a large increase. We're seeing it. Lots of Venezuelans, lots of Cubans, lots of Chinese. Now, a lot of the Cubans that I'm running into are happy to be here and are very upset about the communist leanings of some of the politicians we now have. But where did the Chinese come from? The increase, if you look at it, happened right around the time that that the war in Ukraine broke out. So let me see if I can find those numbers. In fiscal year 2023, which ended in September, U.S. border authorities encountered Chinese immigrants more than 52,000 times. Those are the people they actually caught. And that should kind of be concerning to everyone, largely because a lot of these folks, we don't know who they are. And right now, China is a competitor. But we also have some geopolitical and geomilitary issues with them. So, what could this mean? Could it mean these people are all bad? Of course not. No, this country is full of immigrants from different places. And on the one hand, every group that comes here brings something good with them and something bad, right? It's the Italians brought all their culture and the mafia. The Irish brought all their culture and they had their own mob and other stuff. So, what concerns me now is the fact that we were not about to get in a war with Italy in the 1800s or with Ireland in the 1800s or the 1900s. What we're seeing now is this unprecedented change in folks coming here, but they're coming here illegally. They're coming here unvetted, and honestly, this is kind of frightening because things can happen in a negative way. So let me do this before we go any further. Let me share with you the first article. I'm going to go back in time to 2015. Yeah, I'm going to go way back. So let me share this window with you guys. And let's see. Okay, so this is from 2015. I was in Houston when it happened. Investigators say Iranian activist was gunned down by Jordanian immigrants in 2012. So it happened even further back. Because she helped convert their Muslim daughter to Christianity. The Iranian activist was also a Muslim who converted to Christianity. Now, I'm not here to debate whether you should be Christian or Muslim. That's not the point. The point is that Ali Isran is charged with capital murder, his wife, their son. They basically, this young woman was outspoken. She was also a researcher at MD Anderson Cancer Center, which pretty much everyone has heard of. It's one of the biggest cancer centers in the world and one of the best in North America. She not only would not listen to her father's admonitions that she should live a certain way, but she was also very outspoken against the Iranian government. And she winds up getting killed because she was not in compliance. So you think, okay, that's a cultural killing, right? But then let's move a little closer, 2021, right? And I'm going to draw a line here. You guys will see where I'm going with this. So this was actually, 2023. Now this is more recently. Let me get that to you. Here we go. FBI arrests 2 on charges tied to Chinese outposts. You remember back in 2021, 22 people were screaming, especially in the big cities, New York, Houston, Chicago, LA. Hey, we've got these cultural centers that are spying on Chinese residents who live here, Taiwanese who live here. They're keeping tabs. Well, the FBI finally got enough evidence. They started arresting these folks. 2 men were arrested Monday on charges that they helped establish a secret police station in New York City on behalf of the Chinese government. And about 3 dozen officers with China's National Police Force were charged with using social media to harass dissidents. So now this is 2 cases here in the US of dissidents being harassed, dissidents being murdered or followed. And then it's part of a Justice Department case in recent years aimed at disrupting Chinese government efforts to locate in America pro-democracy activists who fled the country. Okay, so you can see obviously, and this is nothing. This cloak and dagger stuff's been going on forever, but it's been escalating recently. We have all these migrants specifically coming from places like that are not friendly to us, that the governments are not friendly to us. They caught the Taliban or the Pakistani terrorist who got all cocky and smartass with a news crew and wound up getting outed on social media. And then he wound up, I think he got put in custody or brought in for questioning. But these things precede other things from happening. So now, as we all know, Ukraine and Russia are in a war, and not the first time this has happened. This happened in November of last year, so this is relatively recent. Wife of Ukraine's military intelligence head was hospitalized after she was poisoned. Now, they say suspected in this article. It was confirmed she was poisoned with arsenic. To my knowledge, she did not die. They were able to intervene soon enough the minute she got sick. But she and her husband have been very anti-Russian for years. They suspect they may have been trying to get him and got her, but she also on her own was a target. All right, so you're probably thinking, Pete, where are you going with this? Well, let's talk about this one. And this one happened super recently. Russian pilot who defected to Ukraine was murdered in Spain. For the record, they did find him shot. His car was burned up from the gunfire. They machine gunned the shit out of this guy. In Spain, where guns are largely illegal. Automatic Kalashnikovs, definitely illegal. But they got him. They still don't know who did it. This is the kind of stuff that concerns me. And I'm going to turn these off right now. Why is that? Because there's a concept called the fifth column. And supposedly, at least from what I've read and from what I remember in the history books, it was during the Spanish Civil War in the 1920s and 30s. One of the sides was going to take a city, and they had 4 columns of troops. And one of the commanders said to the other one, well, I thought you had 5 columns of troops to assault this city. And the leader said, no, the 5th column is already in the country. That's what scares me. Russia can hunt down and kill a Ukrainian pilot who defected with his helicopter. They can poison a leader of intelligence agencies in Ukraine, or his wife anyway. The Iranians, and whether this was government sanctioned or government encouraged or not, is a little bit vague. As far back as 2012, were able to go and hit this girl and kill her. It's not the first time an Iranian dissident was attacked in the US for disagreeing with the Khomeinis. And then you have the other issue of the Chinese police stations. Ladies and gentlemen, if ever I saw a 5th column being created, it's right now. Does that mean we should all be paranoid? Absolutely not. But we need to understand how these things go. What would I look for? Geopolitically, no tinfoil hat. I'm just looking in history. What would precede a movement, a large movement of a nation against others? movement of troops, movement of assets, creating of treaties, a lot of public rhetoric, and then removing of enemies that can cause problem. Now, assassinations are nothing new. That's been going on forever. But I'm curious to see, as we go into this election year, are we going to start seeing presidential candidates in countries arrested, having random ass heart attacks, people dying of poisoning, being shot to death, specifically outspoken political people? Now, who could that be? It could be Bill Mayer, right? As even though he's on the left, he's a self-proclaimed liberal. He's a smart guy. He speaks out, not necessarily in compliance with the blue Kool-Aid. You got Tucker, who won't comply with the red Kool-Aid. Will we see guys like Bill and Tucker wind up getting arrested? I'm curious. This is purely conjecture, a lot of hypothesis, but think about it. Are we going to see incidents, accidents? We just had another chicken farm burned to the ground, or partially burned to the ground in Texas within the last 2 months. What would we see if things were to happen within the country as a precursor to something more serious? You would see important people dying off. You would see a lot of rhetoric. You would see the positioning of troops, and you would see odd instances, things like derailments, which they did back in the Civil War, things like fires at strategic places. These are the kind of things we need to ask ourselves. Why are all these migrants coming here in such droves, specifically from countries that we normally don't have them come in like this, right? A Chinese dissident, it's not hard for them to get political asylum, right? They can show up in LA or San Francisco, sneak through the border, turn themselves in and say, I'm a political dissident, I would like asylum. And once they're vetted, chances are they'll get the asylum. That's not hard, especially if the CIA, the FBI, the American government knows this person is legit. They're fleeing for their lives. So why sneak in? Why are they using TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, to convey directions to each other so as to maneuver around the border in such a way as to not get noticed at all? How many are we missing? For every one that we catch, for every 5 that we catch, is one getting away? Is it 1 in 5, 1 in 10? We don't know. And that concerns me. And seeing so many Ukrainian and Russian dissidents and Ukrainian. Also, I neglect to mention Navalny, who was the Russian dissident in Russia who got imprisoned by Putin, died this last week also. A lot of assassinations going on, and that concerns me because we have a lot of people in our country who don't know what they're doing. A lot of them, we have no idea where they are, or we don't even know if they're here. Could it be conjecture? Absolutely. But look for that as we get closer to the election season. I could be wrong on this one. Again, this is just looking at history, past wars, things that were precursor movements included infiltrating the other country, the murder or assassination of important people, the destroying of assets prior to doing something. So, folks, watch for those patterns. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But it's something to think about, and it's something interesting. Last topic on this one. I want everyone to think about, what would you do in that situation? This is where your takeaway is, right? And you guys know I like to put a takeaway in my videos. How do we act for this? Watch your local area. Understand the politics of your area. Also, when you look for patterns in the news or in your local area. For instance, are there a lot of grass fires, a lot of farm fires? I'm still super suspicious about these random Canadian and American fires that happen during the election year. And we hardly saw any last year or year before. But the election year, half the country was burning down. It's been way drier last year than it was 2 years before. But that's when the fire started. There's something is amiss. I'm going to be looking for those kind of patterns. Protests, attacks on infrastructure, important things, precursor movements to something else. Anyway, watch for those patterns. What do? We make sure we have food. We make sure we can hunker down at home. If you're on the road like I am, make sure that you have the ability to manage a crisis if you're on the road. Do you have a bug out bag or get home bag? Do you have the right things in your vehicle? If you're flying, do you have amenities you can take with you in your checked luggage? Do you have a safe place at your destination? So if I'm going from Dallas to Houston and I'm in Houston, do I have a place I can crash? Do I have a company facility or a friend who can help me load up on water, load up on food, and then I hit the road and try and get back home? Can I leave a cache or cache, as some people pronounce it, somewhere? Do you have someone you can trust if you go to Oklahoma City a lot or to Denver a lot? Is there someone there who you can say, hey, I'm going to leave this box of emergency crap here? And then if you make it to that house, you have a little foot locker, change of shoes, change of socks, underwear, food, pews, whatever it is you guys work out. Think of these things. And it's not just for wartime, it's for hurricanes, floods, tornadoes. But I really have to question, why are all these folks showing up now? Why this huge surge the last 6 months? And where are they? What is the plan? You don't need a lot of people. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It only took slightly over a dozen people to execute 9/11, with another dozen on the ground providing support, finance, apartments, cars, etc. What could 500 people do? I'm pretty sure we have more than that in the country. I could be wrong. But again, watch for the patterns, watch for precursor movements, pay attention to history, and then look for those repeating patterns. Make sure you're prepared. Have the food, have the defensive items, have the amenities, plan your trips. It's all about staying a step ahead. You can't always know what's going on, but if you can give yourself a little bit of a heads up, that gives you an advantage 95% of the populace is not going to have. And that way you're not on the street when the freak out happens. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I went a little longer than I intended. God bless, Godspeed, be safe. I will see you all on the next video. Take care.